lovely people, and Happy New Year. Isn't 2025 a great number? I love numbers that seem like they're round numbers, don't you? It just appeals so much. I'm very red tonight. I don't know why I'm so hot. Well, I guess it's because I just had dinner and I had some hot food, and I've been bundled up in my granny square top. I was wearing that sleeveless granny square top, which is insanely warm considering it doesn't have sleeves. But I decided to change into this one for the video. The Technicolor Dream Coat. The one with the lovely long pixie hood. So how's it going, guys? Did you make any New Year's resolutions? I don't make New Year's resolutions. Having said that, I have been thinking about what I would like to do this year in a very small way. But I'm not going to beat myself up if things don't go quite the way I thought. We'll talk about that in a minute. I know I only made a video a few days ago, but I did say that I wanted to make one today, New Year's Day. Unfortunately, for a lot of you, you won't be seeing this till the 2nd because of the time difference. So I apologize for that. But I wanted to get today out of the way and done so I could record this evening and get it up tonight for me. Tonight for me. Maybe tomorrow morning for you. So since we last spoke, I have seen the most amazing studio / workroom that I've ever seen. I have a friend who I used to work with a few years back at Fabricland, and she's very arty. She used to bring in the most incredible arty things to hang up in the store to show off the fabrics. She's a textile artist. She has had her work in galleries and sold it. She loves to try all sorts of different things. So she paints and she makes things out of buttons, and she makes things out of thrifted salt cellars, and you name it. I think she's tried it. So she sent me a message the other day, said that she had a small gift for me. She comes from Denmark, and when she went to Denmark last time, she picked up a fridge magnet that says Hygge on it and has lots of lovely little pictures. I should have brought it down. It's on my fridge now. And the reason for that is that Hygge, if you don't know what that means, it's sort of Danish for that lovely cozy feeling you get in the winter when you've got candles lit and maybe a lovely knitting project on the go and a cup of hot chocolate, you know, that nice warm feeling you get. And we adopted that name for our knitting group many, many years ago. And for a long time, it was really active. And then it sort of fell away a little bit. COVID attacked the membership somewhat in that we couldn't meet for a while in person. And then things have been trailing off as well, just the last few months to a year. And so I closed that group down. I'm thinking of starting another group, but when she saw the thing with Hygge on it, she thought of me and she brought it back. And she also gave me a beautiful mushroom that she had made. I'm going to have to go and get these things so I can show you them. Hold that thought. I'm back. All right, I'll show you what I'm talking about. So this is the fridge magnet. Probably going to be very shiny, and the ring light is going to make it hard to see, possibly. But it says Hygge in the middle, and there's all these people doing fun stuff on there. So that was really lovely. And then she also gave me this card, which is, it's like a fabric postcard. So it has fabric on the back and front and Peltex or some other stiffening in the middle. And the fabric was printed with the music, but she added the black printing by using a branch of a plant and then printing it on there with black paint or ink. And she added these the pink and the blue colour to it with, I think, Derwent Inktense pens. Makes me want to get some. And then appliqued this bird and these other little bits and added some stitching. So that was lovely. And this is her latest thing, is glass mushrooms. This is a bud vase with some glass beads inside and an ashtray that's glued to the top along with some of these glass pebbles. And she has a few of these in her home. One of them is really big. It's like probably this big across at the top. So she's obviously trawled the local thrift stores to pick up these things to create these mushrooms. And she said it's for my garden, but I don't know if I want to put it outside. I feel like it might spoil it. So at the moment, it's living on my mantelpiece in my living room. But back to her studio. She has a lovely house. Lovely house. We went into the upstairs and she decorates so much for Christmas. And it was beautiful upstairs, but she took me downstairs and she has a whole room that was probably intended to be a bedroom, but it's like a large living room size. And it's smothered from floor to ceiling, all the way around the room with things. She has a huge work table in the middle of it. She has probably 3 sewing machines, 2 sergers. And then she's got yarn here. She's got little miniature rooms that she's created here. She's got a big doll's house on the top of a cabinet, which is something she's going to be doing something with at some point. She's got a lovely big window on one side, so she's got lots of natural light. And there's family photos above the window and containers, like with little sections or drawers for all her embroidery threads that she's got. She's got a section for fabrics. And yeah, I mean, I spent a couple of hours there, and I just wanted to film it. And she said she'd be okay with that, but I'm going to have to go back for that because there's so much to see. Just incredible. Everywhere you look, there's something she's made or something she's inherited from maybe her mum or a relative or a late friend. And she has so many materials to work with when she gets inspired to make art. I was gobsmacked. I really was. So sometimes, you know, I think my little room is packed with stuff, but wow, it's nothing compared to hers, that's for sure. So back to the subject of New Year's. Did you see the Sydney fireworks? I have mixed feelings about fireworks because I know they can cause problems with wildlife, like birds being scared or dying of shock even. They scare people's pets. They probably scare a lot of people too who don't like loud noises. But man, Sydney must have spent millions on their fireworks display this year. It was crazy. We didn't go to any fireworks displays ourselves. We just sat at home and went to bed early, which is what we usually do on New Year's Eve. But what that did make me think of was that one day we want to get to New Zealand. And I said to Mr. Stitches, I said, we have to go to New Zealand for Christmas and New Year. And he's still going to be working this time next year, but he'll be almost retired. That's the plan. And so I'm hoping that Christmas 2026 will be the year we finally get to New Zealand to have our dream holiday. Christmas and New Year, they're in their summertime. I think that would be awesome. I can't wait. Well, I have to wait. That's like 2 years away. And I know recently I said I don't plan anything, but that's definitely on the bucket list. For sure. Right, I'm going to move you around so I can sit in my nice little armchair nook and we can talk about more stuff. Ooh, I am so red. Something set off the rosacea. Never mind. You'll just have to cope with the glow. Maybe you'll feel the warmth from where you are. So what do I want to talk about? Yes, I've been making notes in my December journal again. More notes. Because I wanted to have an outline of what I wanted to say so I didn't forget anything. Before we go on with talking about the year ahead, let me just show you how far I've got with that Forever jumper. No, it's not called the Forever jumper, it's called the Faraway jumper. Oh, Nicola. Got to get the name right. I have finished the yoke. It looks absolutely massive, but I think it's fine. I know my gauge wasn't exactly right for this, but I just followed the instructions for the size L, and I've tried it on a couple of times to see if I can join up the fabric under the arms. My main concern is that the yoke's going to be the right depth, but it might be a little, what's the word, lumpy around the chest. I'm hoping it's not going to be too bulky around the top of the upper chest here. I know what I'm talking about. Do you know what I'm talking about? Yeah, I don't want it to be lumpy bumpy around the upper chest, but then I have fairly broad shoulders, so I think it will probably be fine once it's on. Hard to tell. At this point, I have not done the chains for the armholes. You have to do the chains here, and that separates the three sections, the sleeve, and the body. It's burning through the yarn though. I mean, crochet is a really dense stitch, isn't it, compared to knitting, and so it does tend to use more yarn compared to knitting. But I do still have 4 more of these balls. This is how far I'm through the second ball of this lovely Glacier Bay one. So what I'm going to have to do is incorporate as much of the other contrast colours as possible so I don't run out. If you weren't here for the last vlog, this is Lion Brand Heartland. Can't remember all the colour names that I'm using, but with a gold, a rust, a red. I know the red is redwood because that's really easy to remember. And the Glacier Bay. Faraway jumper, and the designer is Iron Lamb, and I'm using a 5mm hook. The pattern was written for DK 4mm. My gauge swatch didn't really match up to what it should have been, so yeah, as usual, it's all a little bit of a gamble. And I will be happy when I have done some dividing for the sleeves and the body so that I can try it on better and actually stand in front of a mirror and decide whether I'm happy with the size of it all. I hope I don't have to unravel anything. If I have to frog any of it, I will cry. Because those rows or rounds are very long, take quite a while to do. A little while ago, sometime during Vlogmas, I think, I mentioned that I'm not a planner. And I certainly don't like making New Year's resolutions because you know what happens to those. They fall by the wayside by the second week of January normally, don't they? But there's a couple of things I want to do in my crafty life this year. The first one, learn how to use my serger and actually make some projects using the serger. Not necessarily entirely using the serger, because frequently you have to use the sewing machine and the serger together to get the results you want. But I want to learn how to use that properly and be confident with it by the end of this year. I think that's doable. Why not? And the only other crafty goal I really have is to use my precious stash, or some of it at least. I said recently that we shouldn't save all of the good stuff for later, because sometimes later never comes. When I talk about using up my precious stash, a couple of things come to mind. My quilting cotton batiks and my fat quarter sets of Kaif Facet, free spirit fabrics really, but Kaif Facet and his partners in crime, as they say. And I want to come up with projects for those that mean that I actually enjoy sewing those fabrics up into something lovely, rather than just leave them tucked away. And every now and again, gazing lovingly at them and then putting them back on the shelf or in the drawer. I think that's a worthy goal for this year. I don't really want to be any more specific than that, because I tend to decide on what I want to make on a spontaneous basis. So rather than make specific plans that I'm going to do this, that, and the other, and make a long list of things that probably will never come to be, I'm sticking with the serger and the precious fabric. Use up the stash. I know that January will be dedicated to finishing up my Faraway jumper. I also want to make at least one granny triangle cowl. When I was watching one of Claudia's podcasts a while back, she's Crochet Luna, and she sometimes watches my podcasts. Hi, Claudia, if you're watching. She was showing off a whole bunch of granny triangle cowls that she'd made. It's a joined tube, but it comes down at the front into a V shape using the granny stitch. And I said how much I liked it, and she gifted me the pattern on Ravelry. So I definitely need to make some of those. I'm going to have a lot of Heartland yarn left after I finish this sweater. And I think granny triangle cowls would be lovely. Maybe, I shouldn't say this out loud, should I? Because it probably won't happen. But maybe those would make great gifts. And if I was to make a few over the year, I'd have a few Christmas gifts ready and waiting for my friends for next Christmas. Will that happen? Maybe, maybe not. Did you notice the hair's changed, by the way? New hair, new year. I used the same blue-green on it, but before I did that, I put some purple around the hairline and on the scalp, and then I added some more of the blue here, and I ended up putting an awful lot of purple at the front and blue at the back. And so when I had dried it, I thought, it looks too blocky. It was too purple at the front, too blue at the back. So in the end, I added a bit more purple at the back. I've got a very hard line where it's all on my skin still, because I only did it this morning. We were out walking this afternoon and I got some interesting looks from people. Anyway, it's not why I do it. I do it for me, not for other people. Personal goals. Oh, do I want to call it goals? Not really. Personal goals. I have to say that the last couple of years I have been very remiss on keeping up with my strength and flexibility. I was a member of a gym for a few years, and I was really pleased with how good it felt to be actually working my muscles. But then I sort of fell out of the habit and ended up cancelling my subscription because I was paying weekly and not showing up, which is, probably what the gyms often rely on for a lot of income. A lot of people, especially in January, join a gym, send in their money every month, and then never show up. Or maybe they show up once or twice and then they don't. I'm not going to rejoin the gym because the price is 4 times what it was. We had a really, really good deal at the time. And so I'm not going to do that. But we have the equipment at home. We have a whole range of dumbbells and all sorts of things here at home. And whilst we do go out for a lot of walks, and I do a lot of walking at work because I'm on my feet all the time, I feel like I need to strengthen up my upper body. You know, as you get older, you've got to keep those muscles working, because use it or lose it is very, very true. And I really need to get back into the yoga, because that's another thing that goes away if you don't keep working it. You got to keep the flexibility and the strength just to maintain as much as you can as you get older, because I don't want to be getting too decrepit too soon. In addition to getting a little stronger and a little more bendy, I'd like to heal my plantar fasciitis. My right foot has had plantar fasciitis now for a really long time. I think I'm going to have to get some really good indoor shoes, as well as some better outdoor shoes, and try and remember to do the exercises to help it, because it's miserable and it's annoying and I've had enough of it. As for the rest of the year, no idea. My sister is planning to come and visit me in the summer. She wants to meet me in Vancouver. She'll fly into Vancouver and I will drive to the airport, pick her up, and then we'll have a little vacation, probably for about a week, in the Vancouver area, and also go over to Vancouver Island. So what I'm going to have to do is, when I know what date she's coming, and when I've talked to her about the sorts of things she'd like to do, I'm going to have to make plans for hotels and touristy stuff for her to do and enjoy. I have some ideas, because we've been to Vancouver and Vancouver Island a few times now. So that will be a plan I have to make, because it doesn't just involve me, it involves her too. Apart from that, the year is wide open. That's actually a rather nice feeling. I don't like to be overcommitted. And having one thing planned for this year sounds about right. I'm so unadventurous, aren't I? Well, I think I've talked about everything in that list. Oh, I've just noticed these things here. My friend with the beautiful studio gave me a couple of damask tablecloths. She has sun-dyed some fabrics and used them in her art. So what she does is she dyes them and then she puts them outside wet on the grass and puts items on top of it to let it dry. And as it dries, the things that she leaves on top of the fabric make an imprint. So she's got some beautiful leaf prints and button prints and things like that on fabric, which she can then cut out and use in something else. And I thought, that's definitely a project for this summer. Oh, look, another plan. Forgot about that one. But isn't that amazing? Obviously, it has to be summer, because at this time of the year, it isn't going to work. But I think that we should probably get her to come and teach a bunch of friends how to do that. That would be a lot of fun. So, do you have any New Year's resolutions, any plans, anything you'd like to achieve this year? Drop a note in the comments if you do. Or if you'd rather just not have anything to do with that, let me know that too. I almost forgot, I spent a lovely New Year's Eve yesterday. I worked in the morning, and that was just a 4-hour shift, so that was easy. And when I got home, I plunked myself on the couch and got my crochet ready. And then I switched on my laptop and I got Kate of the Last Homely House, her New Year's Eve YouTube video. and she was live in the comments. So it was 10:30 p.m. her time, 2:30 p.m. my time. And thanks to my shift, I was able to be on the couch and watching the video at the same time as a whole bunch of other people, like 2,000 people, I think there were, on that thread and in the chat on the side of the video. And Kate was in there just replying to a few people and adding to the conversation. And that was really enjoyable. And then we had some supper, and yeah, it was a very relaxed evening. And we were in bed by probably 9:30. And then today, it's so funny, isn't it? The way the brain works. I was up at 6 the last couple of mornings to get ready for work. This morning I woke up and I thought, oh, wonder what time it is. I'll check the clock. It was 6:01. My brain had told me to wake up at the same time, even though I hadn't set my alarm, which is probably a good thing because I've got to be up at 6 the next 2 mornings as well. But yeah, this morning was all about cleaning the house. That's a nice way to start the new year, isn't it? You feel like you at least temporarily had things under control. And so I did the vacuuming in the bathrooms and the kitchen, and we went out for a walk and I stocked the fridge. We went to the supermarket and got a few bits and pieces that we needed. And then we went to London Drugs, which if you don't live in Canada, it's a pharmacy. It's just a big pharmacy. It's like Boots in the UK or something like that, in that it's huge. They don't just sell prescriptions. No, they sell everything. It's like a department store. They have food, and they have like packaged food, and they have an electronics department, and they have makeup, and they have, you name it, magazines, housewares. And Mr. Stitches had said that they had a sale on a lot of things that we might be interested in. So we go in there. And I thought, okay, this is a good opportunity to look for a desk diary for my kitchen because I didn't have one, and we're already on January the 1st. And so they didn't have any diaries at all. But that doesn't matter because we went down the snack aisle, didn't we? And Mr. Stitches has said something about the chocolate being on sale. In the end, he bought tea, which is great. But I saw these massive, massive bars of Lindt chocolate, which are like 300 grams each. And they were on sale, $13 for 2. I bought 2, didn't I? I also found some Biscoff biscuits or cookies. And I've heard of Biscoff over and over again. So many people online, like on social media, seem to be doing recipes with Biscoff. And don't think I've ever eaten a Biscoff biscuit or cookie. And so I thought, well, I looked at the ingredients label. I thought, well, they're not the most healthy things. That's for sure. But I thought, I'm going to try them. So I bought a packet of those. And then I thought, oh, I've seen a really good recipe for a cheesecake. It's a chickpea cheesecake, which sounds really weird. But the filling is chickpeas and cashews. And there's no cream cheese in it at all, because I like the idea of making it from natural ingredients rather than buying a processed product. So the crust is made from crushed up graham crackers, and rather than try and find graham crackers, I thought, wait a second, I bet McVitie's digestives would work. And they had some on the shelf, just a little over from the Biscoff. So I bought a packet of those as well. So both of those packets of biscuits will be put away until I make a recipe with them. Not just going to eat them. I mean, I'm sure they'd be lovely dunked in my coffee, but I'm going to save them for a recipe sometime. And it's not going to be this week because, I have to, what's the word? Pace myself now that Christmas is over and not go too mad. So I got to the checkout and I put these 2 massive bars of chocolate and the 2 packets of biscuits and the 2 boxes of tea on there. And as it came to be my turn to pay, I said to the cashier, obviously, my New Year's resolution is to eat more chocolates. And the woman waiting behind me laughed. I could hear her sort of go, I mean, she had a mask on. I'm assuming she was laughing. She could have been scoffing haughtily at me. I don't know, but I just assumed she found it amusing. So, yeah. I always forget that Christmas is not over until all the mincemeat has been used up. And one of my sons reminded me there was still a jar of it in the fridge. So I ended up using that last jar of mincemeat and making some pastry and making a mince tart. Instead of making lots of little pies, I made a mince tart, which I put just some pastry stars on top with the cuttings, the trimmings that were left over at the end. And then because one of my kids doesn't eat dried fruit, he can't stand the stuff, I thought, okay, I'll make enough pastry so that I can do this tart and then I can make a big jam turnover for him. So I rolled out the pastry for the tart, stuck that in there, and then I rolled it out again. So I had to squidge it all together and re-roll the pastry. And then I cut another circle out, put some strawberry jam in there, folded it in half and used a fork just to crimp the edges and put that in another dish. And I baked them side by side. So he got to have some pastry dessert as well tonight. And it was very good. But now that the mincemeat is done, there'll be no more pastry for a while and no more fruitcake. That is done now. And I think that's probably a good thing. Well, it looks like that's it for today. I'm hoping to hear back from you. Tell me all about your New Year's Eve or your New Year's resolution or the lack of them. Or whether you've got any exciting plans for this year. I hope everything's well where you are. There's far too many stories on the news these days of floods and other disasters happening. So I hope you're safe, that your home is warm and dry, or cool and dry if you're in summer right now. And that you are well and enjoying your crafting. It's another thing I'd like to know. What do you guys do? Some of you have commented before that you just knit or you just crochet or you do a bit of this and a bit of that. So I'd love to hear about that too. I'll talk to you again really soon. Show you some more progress on the sweater and hopefully some other stuff too. Thanks so much for watching. Bye for now.